Hi, Tea Society! Welcome back to the Antisocial Planet. Today we are checking out Mina's Misty solo, and that's pretty much all I know. I just know that it's a solo song. I know that it makes me think of the jazz standard Misty, but I know that that's not what this is going to be. But I don't know anything else other than it's her solo song. I haven't heard any of it. I don't know what it's about. I'm going in blind with this one, but that's always a fun time. And I'm just going to be checking out a lyric video for it. I know that there are performances and stuff. I've been sent links. Thank you very much for all of those. I've saved them for later. But for this video, it's just going to be listening through the song, and wish me luck because Mina's voice is it's too beautiful. You know what I mean? Like it does something to me. So I have a feeling that whatever this is sonically, it's going to affect me. I don't think I'm going to do well with this. I'm just putting it out there now. Calling it, this is gonna get me. Okay. Fun synth sound.
What should I say? Kimi ni kimochi itakute mitsumeru kedo I don't know why. Namida ga dete me wo sorashita night.
Ooh, that little vocal run there. Oh, okay, so we're dealing with a can't say what you're feeling, thinking. Listen to her though, like that shift. Her voice is always like beautiful and light. I like that we're getting a little bit in her lower range here as well, but then just like that beautiful transition up into that lighter, higher sound. Ooh, okay, I know we're getting into the chorus, but I really like how she's recording parts of this at different points, so it's almost like overlapping in the different parts, because we literally have the lyrics of like words are piled up on top of words. So it's like all of this stuff that she wants to say piling up internally, and then you get these like different vocal tracks that have been recorded separately, so they overlap a little bit at the beginning and end of each of the phrases, which is a really cool effect for this specifically, to say, hey, everything's getting blurred and overlapping, and I don't really know all I want to say because there's so much now, there's so much bottled up that I don't know how to pick and choose what fits for this particular instance, right? Her voice is so pretty. Ooh, that bass? Ooh, okay, with a bass line there, and then having the layered vocals and that descending there too, even though it's a pretty like sharp, like it's like a sharp delivery, even though there's like softer sounds on Misty. Like there's only really like the T that kind of has a bite to it in terms of just the phonology of that word, but the way that she's like delivering it is like making it just like a little bit sharper on the edges, which for Mina, who has a very like soft, breathy voice, getting a little more sharpness intentionally to her voice is actually really pretty. I feel like there are so many things, using the English word for repeat in the middle there. I love the ABC, repeat again, and like again having repeat be a continuing like motif throughout the lyrics. The more I say it, the more hazy the meaning. I love that too. Even though we have all of this imagery of I don't know what I'm supposed to say, like I have all these things I want to say, all these things I'm feeling, all of these thoughts that I'm having, all this internal stuff going on when I'm around you, and I wish that I could say all of these things, that they're like piling up on top of each other. But also I think that it gets to the point of how do you articulate everything that you're feeling, right? Like the more that you're talking, the more that the meaning gets obscured because you're just just letting everything out, right? And again, like it starts to pile up on top of each other and it starts to obscure its meaning because you're saying too much, you're over explaining, which is like the opposite end of the spectrum. And look, for those of us like myself who are like a tad socially awkward, tend to have 0 or 100 when it comes to communication skills. I get that. I too try to over explain myself. And again, this idea of like mist and fog and haze coming through. And I was thinking we had like a similar vibe with Sana's Mirage, right? This blurring of like a feeling or a image. So I find it interesting that that's like a common thread between the two solos so far that I've heard. Love all the layered vocals. Again, words layered on top of each other. Ooh, sorry. She had like a flip up and I got distracted, but love this again, like words, but like through the filter of letters, like written as opposed to spoken. I think that it's so interesting that a lot of this song is about communication and that being like obviously the way that we need to communicate with each other to be able to relate to each other's experiences. But how do you communicate a feeling, right? How do you communicate an emotion, something that is very internal and is about what it is like to be inside of your body, given your experiences and who you are as a person, and how do you externalize that experience to somebody else to make them understand, and how that gets obscured the moment that you try to communicate it. But I love the different types of communication, speaking in the first part, and now we're getting like written word with letters. It's a little embarrassing. Cute. And again, we have singing, another form of communicating. I love that we're getting a bit of her lower range too, and a little more closure with her vocal cords, because again, she tends to have more of a like lighter, breathier tone. So I like that we're getting this mixture of those two things. And I also really love that when we're getting that lighter tone, it's mostly in the chorus with a few little accents here and there. But in the chorus, there's like these layered vocals, right? And it's layered up on top of each other, layered words, things being said over in multiple different ways, and them like softening out the edges of that sound. Even her putting in more breath is like softening the edges, blurring those outlines, just like the lyrics. I love just like the way that she's constructing her vocal tone throughout the song to really mirror what the lyrics are talking about. The rhythm section, this is so good. Like the bass, dang. There's also this delivery where she almost like rushes over her words. Okay. The bass on this is so good. You can sell me on a song with some good bass in it. But I also love the switching of the lyrics, right? So before we were talking about talking, writing, singing. Now we have looking at each other, telepathy, trying to communicate without externally communicating, right? Like I was saying, feelings are very difficult to externalize in words because how do you make somebody feel what you're feeling? And I love getting that shift in the lyrics of saying, hey, if we could just communicate like mind to mind, then that's like a lot easier of a link to communicate why you're feeling the way that you are, how you're feeling, than trying to articulate it, especially for someone who is fairly quiet like Mina is and perhaps may not be able to put into words everything that she's feeling. Even talking before about her saying, I just like stare and I don't know why. Again, would do that where I'm just like, my brain stops being able to compute language and I just stare at somebody for a little bit. I'm just buffering, give me a second. I love getting that feeling of, hey, I wish I could just send my feeling of what I'm feeling and thinking directly into your head instead of trying to figure out what the correct words are for it. And then having the XYZ at the end, we had the ABC, and then having the end of it as well. Whatever your feelings are, it's mystic and beautiful. Having this like shift once it becomes more like self-reflective, we're talking like a sea of tears, being like a little bit different. How I feel like is clear, right? Like the feeling, the emotion is clear, but when I try to communicate that, it gets twisted. Love that idea. Like again, shifting the wording of this and finding new ways to say the same thing, just like in the lyrics. There's some great like narrative storytelling just in the way that this song is constructed that makes me really happy. I'm just like, I'm smiling huge because there's so many cool little details in it. Like from the way that the lyrics are layered to the way that she's choosing the form of her voice, the placement of her voice, to the way that the lyrical content kind of communicates the same thing, even like switching between two languages, right? I know that mixing in English into Japanese or Korean songs is super common, but having that shift in translation of language is even, hey, let me like try multiple different languages to try and explain this, and it still isn't going to be as clear as I want it to be, right? I love how the bass line like follows the melody of the vocals. No. No. You can't give me a lower part of your range and also some vocal fry in there. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. This is why I was like performance later, because I don't want to look at her while she says that. Thank you. Ooh, bad lib. But like the ad-libs are super filtered. Dang. What were all those vocals in the back? Why were we adding in some like whisper vocals layered in there at the end? What was that about? I don't know why you had to attack me right at the end. But okay, deconstructing from my own bias, that's fine. I think it's interesting that even though we have this repetition of Misty, right? Lots of layered vocals in that. We had the ad-libs coming in on a bit of a higher range that are also saying, like repeating lyrics from previously. Then we have the whisper repeating lyrics, I think, from before. All of it layering up on top of each other. Again, having words that are mixing up together and layering over top and repeating the same things over and over again, and yet still not quite getting your point across. And I think that it's interesting that this song also has a certain like obscurity to what is this feeling that is trying to be expressed, right? Because it isn't explicitly said that it is any one emotion or any one experience. I think we can infer certain things from it. I think that there's probably quite a few people that would see this as a like romantic thing, right? If you have romantic feelings for someone, how do you explain that to someone and get them on the same page as you? But it's never like explicitly said, right? So even within the lyrics itself, she's not putting across like a certain emotion or feeling that she is trying to communicate. It's just that she is trying to communicate something that she is feeling very strongly to this other person, and she doesn't know how to get it across. And I think that it's so interesting that this song is not about specifically a situation of trying to explain an emotion. It's like the state of not being able to communicate your feelings well, of being someone who doesn't know how to externalize what you are feeling, what's going on inside of you. And I think that fits with Mina a lot, that she's a very sweet person. She's a very caring person. I find her hilarious. I feel a bit of kindred with a lot of Mina and the stuff that I see with her, but she's also a very quiet person. She isn't always able to like articulate the emotions that are going on inside of her, even though she's able to articulate other things, but she tends to not speak a whole lot, and she tends to not be able to put across her emotions quite as animated as some of the other members. So I think that it's interesting to have a song from her specifically that is about, I don't know, the state of being someone who is not super good at communication and your emotions, and how do you externalize that experience when you have this rich internal experience with those emotions and it doesn't always translate out, and you're kind of limited by the words and vocabulary that you have. And even though you're repeating yourself, you're using all these different forms of communication, from letters to singing to speaking, and none of it really measures up to what you're actually feeling. And it can be very frustrating to be stuck with that. You can feel all of it and you understand that you feel all of that, but you can't externalize it specifically to other people and get them to see that. Like, I'm sure that there are lots of people who misunderstand Mina because she doesn't speak a whole lot, and again isn't like super animated all of the time. Like, she doesn't have the same kind of super over the top like facial expressions or persona in the way that she presents herself. So I'm sure that there are lots of people who don't fully know what's going on with her, but that doesn't mean that she doesn't have all of these emotions and doesn't have a really rich experience internally, whether or not she's able to communicate that externally. So it's a really interesting song. Again, great like narrative storytelling in the way that it's arranged too, from the instrumentation to her vocals and playing off of the lyrics and everything. I really loved that. Like, beautiful, gorgeous performance from her with her voice. I think we got a little bit of everything with it, from her upper range to her lower range, to having some great like chest placement, good closure in her vocal cords, to that very like light falsetto, breathy tone, whatever that vocal fry moment was, which I will endeavor to just scoop past, because if I don't, I will get stuck there. A little bit of everything with her vocal performance. I think that it really did a really good job of expanding the storytelling from the lyrics, and catchy as well, and love just like the feeling of it. Again, as somebody who doesn't always communicate their feelings super well, which may seem a bit strange for someone with a reaction channel, part of the reason I have a reaction channel is because I'm not super good at letting myself have my feelings and communicating them. So it was a little bit of a getting out of my comfort zone, getting into reactions and letting myself express those emotions and be a little more articulate with how I'm feeling and what I'm thinking. But I know that experience, especially when it's something that is like, it matters. The more that it matters to me, the more I tend to fail in my ability to express it externally. And I think that's part of the reason I felt a draw towards Mina, besides just loving her voice and her performance. Learning about who she was early on and getting into Twice, I was like, I feel a lot of similarities between me and her, because I'm either 0 or 100. I don't have a good in between when it comes to my communication skills or my social skills. My battery just runs out. I'm like, oops, I'm stuck in the middle of the social situation now. And I feel like that is a lot of Mina. She's very quiet, she's very reserved, but she's also like very witty and funny and chaotic in her own way, and she's very like sweet, and she cares a lot for the people around her. So I think that her writing a song like this is very close to how she feels, and like the frustration of having all of these emotions internally and failing to communicate them properly externally. Like, again, because you can't make someone feel what you're feeling, you can only explain it and hope that they get close enough. I really like putting that into a song. I think it's an interesting choice. And again, especially for a song where she doesn't specifically articulate what it is, I think that you can read it as a love song, but it isn't specifically said that's what it's for. And in what kind of love, right? There's lots of different kinds of love as well. So I think that it's interesting too to have that ambiguity in what this song could even apply to, and can transpose it onto many different experiences that you may have of failing to communicate something that you're feeling that is important to you. But great song, and I'm a little bit scared of a performance performance. I'm not gonna lie. The performance does strike a little bit of fear into my soul, but I hope you enjoyed listening to that along with me. You can click those playlists to go see my previous reactions, or you can subscribe so you miss next time I post a Twice reaction. I will see you in the next video. Bye.